My name is Armin Kritzinger, and welcome back to our course on the fundamental teachings of Christianity. Just like God's character of unselfish love is unchangeable, so His eternal law of love, the 10 Commandments, are also based on principles that will never change. His law of love reveals His unchanging character. Those who are obedient to God's law of love are those who are revealing God's character to the world. Please watch the lessons on God's law and God's character for more information on those topics. The 4th commandment of the 10 Commandments starts like this in Exodus chapter 20 verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. There's a reason why we must remember the Sabbath day. The reason is that we need to keep the Sabbath day as a holy day. It is very important to know when the Sabbath day is. And please watch the video on that. But simply knowing when the Sabbath day is not enough. Because the commandment is not just about knowing when the Sabbath day is, but the commandment tells us to remember to keep the Sabbath as a holy day. If we know when the Sabbath day is, but we don't keep it as a holy day, then we are not obeying or observing the 4th commandment. Almost like with the 5th commandment that tells us to honor our parents. Yes, it is important to know who your parents are. But if you know who your parents are, but you are not honoring them, then you are not keeping the 5th commandment. Exodus chapter 31 verse 13 says, My Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. It is not knowing when the Sabbath day is that is a sign between God and His people. But it is actually keeping the Sabbath day holy, keeping it as a holy day, that is the sign between God and His people. Ellen White writes in Manuscript Releases, volume 15, page 32, True observance of the Sabbath is the sign of loyalty to God. So what does it mean to keep the Sabbath day as a holy day? The Bible provides us with some principles. In Isaiah chapter 58 verse 13, the Bible says, If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shall honor Him, not doing your own ways, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words. We should not do our own work, find our own pleasure, or do our own ways or speak our own words on the Sabbath day. Nothing with a common purpose should be done on the Sabbath. The Sabbath is reserved for holy purposes only. In Desire of Ages, page 207, it says, The law forbids secular labor on the rest day of the Lord. The toil that gains a livelihood must cease. No labor for worldly pleasure or profit is lawful upon that day. But as God ceased His labor of creating, and rested upon the Sabbath and blessed it, so man is to leave the occupations of his daily life, and devote those sacred hours to healthful rest, to worship, and to holy deeds. Jesus did many holy deeds on the Sabbath day, like healing people who were suffering, because that is God's work and God's purposes. In Selected Messages, Book 3, page 258, it says, Every working of Christ in miracles was essential, and was to reveal to the world that there was a great work to be done on the Sabbath day for the relief of suffering humanity. But the common work was not to be done. Pleasure-seeking, ball-playing, swimming, was not a necessity, but a sinful neglect of the sacred day sanctified by Jehovah. We should ask ourselves, is this one of God's purposes, or is this my own purpose and my own pleasure? The principle is not the amount of work that you do, but it is the type of work that we do. It is not lots of work versus little bit of work, but it is God's pleasure and God's purposes versus my pleasure and my purposes. Even if it takes a lot of work to help someone, then it would still be lawful on the Sabbath day. And even if it just takes a small amount of time and small amount of work to think about my own business pleasures on the Sabbath day, it would still be wrong. God, in His infinite wisdom, has given us Friday as a preparation day to prepare things for Sabbath, like cooking, shopping, cleaning, ironing, etc. Everything that can be done in advance should be done in advance. I recommend reading chapter 29 entitled The Sabbath in the book The Desire of Ages by Ellen White, and also watch my other videos on Sabbath observance so you can experience the blessing for yourself. In Life Sketches of James White and Ellen G. White, page 236, it says, "I was shown that if the true Sabbath had been kept, there would never have been an infidel or an atheist. The observance of the Sabbath would have preserved the world from idolatry." Why? Because the Sabbath reminds us to worship the Creator and not the creation. Sabbath observance is a memorial, a reminder of God's creative power. In Mark chapter 2 verse 27, the Bible says, "And He said unto them, The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath." In this age of materialism, the Sabbath points us to the spiritual and the personal. True observance of the Sabbath day is God's sign with Him and His people. Neglecting to keep the Sabbath day holy is serious. We could eliminate ourselves from being part of God's people. Why? Neglecting to keep the Sabbath day holy will distort and destroy our relationship with God, as it is part of the first 4 commandments that deals directly with love towards our Creator. The law of God only becomes a burden when we transgress it. God has given us 6 days for our own purposes, and He has reserved the 7th day as a holy day for His pleasure and His work. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. I invite you to try the 4th commandment for yourself. Find someone who observes the 4th commandment and experience a Sabbath day with them. Taste and see that the Lord is good.